The reverse law whispers a paradox. By doing nothing, you summon everything. When silence replaces effort, the universe itself bends to obey. Sacred Introduction. If this audiobook has reached you, it is not by chance. Something in your soul has been whispering for a long time, and tonight, that whisper becomes a voice. You have walked through deserts of effort, carrying burdens heavier than your heart could bear. You have tried to control the winds, to force rivers into directions that were not their own. And every time, exhaustion visited you like a shadow. You felt that no matter how much you pushed, the gates of destiny remained sealed. You have suffered. You have fought. You have insisted. And yet the result slipped through your hands like water. Do you recognize yourself in this silence? In this hidden fatigue that no one sees, but that corrodes the marrow of your being? You were told that everything depends on effort, that only through constant struggle would you reach the throne of your destiny. But deep down, another truth pulsed like a secret star. The truth that there is a forgotten law, the reverse law, a law that bends the universe only when you cease to bend yourself. Imagine a bird entangled in a net. The more it flaps its wings in despair, the tighter the ropes embrace its body. But when it stops, when it surrenders to stillness, the net itself loosens, as if the universe were waiting for silence to weave the key. That bird is you. And the moment you let go of control, something larger than you begins to act. This book is not about effort. It is about surrender. It is not about running faster. It is about stopping at the right moment. It is not about breaking the walls. It is about letting the door reveal itself. What you are about to hear is a revelation, but also a remembrance. For this wisdom was already inscribed in your soul, before time, before names, before the world taught you to struggle against yourself. You were sought, you were called, and now the portal opens before you. In this journey, each chapter will be a threshold, each tale a mirror, each ritual a key. You will not receive promises of instant miracles, for miracles are not tricks of time. They are alignments of eternity. What you will receive is deeper, the secret of doing nothing, and in this nothing, discovering that everything already conspires in your favor. Breathe now. Inhale as if you were receiving light. Exhale as if you were letting go of centuries of weight. Repeat within yourself, I release control. I open myself to the reverse law. The universe knows the way. The journey begins, and once begun, it cannot be undone. Chapter 1. The Trap of Effort. When the soul suffocates under control. You were taught that the world only yields to those who fight without rest, that nothing is given freely, and that life is a battlefield where only relentless effort secures survival. And so, you pushed yourself beyond your own limits, carrying invisible stones in your chest. You believed that if you did not strive harder, destiny would slip away, and that only through strain would the universe hear your plea. Yet in the silence of your nights, you felt a secret contradiction. The more you forced, the more everything seemed to resist you. This is the invisible trap, the belief that control guarantees safety. It is like a hand grasping water. The tighter the grip, the faster it escapes. The soul suffocates under the weight of control because the very act of forcing creates opposition. Have you noticed how, when you desperately try to hold someone close, they step away? How, when you seek to accelerate a process, delays multiply? The more you push, the more the path resists. This is not punishment, it is a mirror. The universe reflects your tension back to you, for it is loyal to the vibration you emanate. Imagine the story of Elias, a craftsman who lived in a small village. He desired to carve the most beautiful statue his people had ever seen. Day after day, he struck the stone with violence, impatient to reveal the hidden form. But the stone, wounded by his fury, cracked in ways he did not foresee. The more he hurried, the more the figure distorted. In despair, he abandoned the work and fell asleep beside the broken marble. That night he dreamt of an old man who held a chisel without moving it. The old man whispered, "The form reveals itself in silence. Do not strike the stone. Let it speak to you. When Elias awoke, he touched the stone softly, listening before carving, and little by little the statue revealed itself as if it had always been waiting. This tale is a mirror for your own struggle. You have struck your destiny as Elias struck the stone, with anxiety and fear that time would escape. Yet time does not escape. It unfolds. The statue of your life is already inscribed within you, waiting not for your desperate blows, but for your attentive silence. The teaching hidden here is profound. Every act of exaggerated control is born of fear. And fear, when placed in the throne of your heart, commands creation more than your conscious will. Jung once wrote that what we resist persists. The psyche is not a battlefield to be conquered, but a garden to be tended. When you water a plant too much, it drowns. When you expose it to too much sun, it withers. The balance of life is delicate, and the soul knows it well. To suffocate your inner being with force is to extinguish the very flame you seek to protect, and so you're invited to a new practice, one that seems paradoxical, to release the excess of effort. Sit quietly for a moment. Place your hand on your chest and feel the rhythm of your breath. Inhale as if you were receiving the wisdom of the ages. Exhale as if centuries of control were leaving your body. Whisper softly to yourself, I am safe even when I release control. I am guided even when I do not force. Repeat this 3 times, allowing each word to sink into your unconscious like seeds falling into fertile soil. This simple ritual begins to break the chains of the old belief. For when the body experiences trust, the psyche follows. You do not abandon responsibility. You abandon suffocation. You do not stop acting. You stop forcing. And in this subtle difference lies the secret of freedom. The trap of effort is not eternal. It is a mirage built upon fear. When you step outside of it, a vast horizon opens before you, and in that horizon, the first light of the reverse law begins to shine. Chapter 2. The Bird and the Net, the Parable of Futile Struggle. In the early hours of dawn, when the world still sleeps, a bird once found itself caught in a hunter's net. Its wings thrashed wildly, feathers scattering in the struggle. The more it fought, the more the cords dug into its body, cutting, tightening, suffocating. Fear commanded its heart, escape, 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 and yet the very force of its desperation deepened its prison. Exhausted, the bird collapsed into stillness. For the first time, it no longer resisted. And in that silence, something subtle happened. The net, loosened by the absence of struggle, gave way. The bird rose into the sky, not by force, but by surrender. This parable is not distant from your own story. Have you not, too, fought nets of invisible cords? Expectations that suffocate, obligations that strangle, fears that bind you to places you no longer wish to inhabit? You flap your wings. More effort, more planning, more control. But instead of freedom, you find greater entrapment. What if the prison you fear so much is not made of the cords themselves, but of your struggle against them? Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of the psyche which grows stronger the more we deny it. Struggle against the shadow does not dissolve it, it feeds it. Just as the bird empowered its prison with its frantic wings, so you empower your own chains when you resist them blindly. There is a paradox at work. When you stop fueling the net with your resistance, the net weakens. The forces that hold you captive are not eternal. They feed on your very anxiety. Listen carefully. The greatest movements of destiny are often born in stillness. The ocean tide does not rush. It flows with the moon. The stars do not wrestle to shine. They burn silently, and their light travels across centuries. You are not here to wrestle with every chord. You are here to understand the law that governs the chords and to step beyond them. The bird was not saved by greater strength, but by a greater surrender. Now close your eyes and enter the ritual of the bird. Sit upright, spine aligned as if your body itself were a tree reaching for the heavens. Rest your hands upon your knees, palms upward, as though wings folded in repose. Inhale deeply, imagining the cords of your life tightening with every fear you carry. Hold the breath for a moment acknowledging the tension. And as you exhale, envision the cords loosening, slipping, falling away. Whisper softly, "What resists me is only fed by my resistance. I choose release. I choose trust. I choose to rise." Repeat 3 times until your voice feels like a key that unlocks the invisible net. Do not fear silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is womb. Silence is threshold. Silence is the place where invisible hands prepare your freedom. You are the bird, and the net was never the end. It was only the test. The moment you stop struggling against yourself, you will discover that the sky has been waiting for you all along. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Key of the Ancients, the Reverse Law. There are truths so subtle, so hidden in plain sight, that entire civilizations have built their lives upon them without ever naming them. The ancients knew one such secret, and though their languages have faded, the essence of this wisdom still vibrates through time. It is the reverse law, that the universe often bends not to force, but to release, not to those who seize, but to those who open their hands. Imagine an ancient temple where seekers once gathered to hear the words of a sage. The young would arrive with scrolls, weapons, questions, and the restless fire of ambition. They wished to conquer destiny, to command the gods, to bend time itself. But the sage would remain silent. Days would pass in quiet contemplation, and many left in frustration, unable to endure the emptiness. Only those who stayed discovered the truth. That silence itself was the teaching, that the treasure was revealed not in answers, but in the space between them. Those who endured stillness left with a power greater than knowledge, the power of alignment. The reverse law is not weakness nor resignation. It is not about abandoning life, but about ceasing the frantic battle against it. To do nothing after the seed is planted does not mean negligence, it means trust. The soil works in silence. The roots expand in darkness. The flower does not rush toward the sun. It unfolds because it cannot do otherwise. The reverse law is the wisdom of the seed. Do your part and then withdraw. To force beyond that is to wound the very life you wish to awaken. Psychologically, this law speaks directly to the unconscious. Jung observed that the unconscious is a living reality that resists domination. The more we try to dictate its rhythms, the more it rebels in dreams, in symptoms, in hidden sabotages. But when we pause, when we release control, the unconscious begins its sacred work of reordering. You may not see it, but 1,000 invisible hands rearrange your inner landscape. This is the paradox. In your apparent inaction, the deepest transformation occurs. Let us enter the ritual of remembrance. Sit in stillness, as if you were entering an ancient temple. Close your eyes and place both hands gently over your heart. Inhale deeply, imagining a seed of golden light being planted within your chest. With each breath, feel the soil of your being covering it, protecting it. Whisper softly, "I trust the hidden work. I trust the law of reversal. I allow the seed of my destiny to grow without forcing it." Remain in silence for a few moments after these words, as though the temple itself were listening with you. The ancients called it wisdom. You may call it alignment. Yet beyond all names, it is the same truth. When you release your desperate grip, life begins to carry you. The reverse law is not a myth. It is the forgotten key. And once this key touches your soul, the doors that resisted you will begin quietly and mysteriously to open. Chapter 4. Wu Wei, the Sacred Art of Non-Forcing. In the heart of the Taoist tradition lies a principle as gentle as flowing water and as powerful as the mountains it carves, Wu Wei. Translated imperfectly, it means non-doing or non-forcing. Yet this phrase does not invite passivity, nor does it glorify idleness. It reveals a sacred alignment, the art of moving with the current instead of against it, the wisdom of allowing life to flow without constant interference. Imagine a river descending from the mountains. It does not argue with stones, nor does it curse the fallen tree that obstructs its way. It simply flows around, over, beneath, finding paths unseen by those who resist. In its patience lies its power. In its softness lies its triumph. And over centuries, the river shapes valleys, nourishes forests, and opens passages through the immovable. The river conquers not by force, but by constancy in surrender. Wu Wei is this river made flesh within you. To live by Wu Wei is not to abandon responsibility, but to act with harmony. It is to understand that the fruit ripens in its season, not in your impatience. It is to sow with presence, and then to allow the soil, the sun, and the rain to weave their hidden alchemy. The moment you demand control of every detail, you violate the sacred rhythm of becoming. You are not asked to do nothing forever. You are asked to know when to step back so that life itself may complete the work. In psychological terms, Wu Wei is the art of ceasing the compulsive interference of the ego. The ego seeks to command, to calculate, to control. But the unconscious, vast and mysterious, moves in its own rhythms. Jung taught that wholeness comes not from domination, but from dialogue with the unconscious. Wu Wei is that dialogue in action, the silence that allows the inner river to flow, the humility to accept that greater forces are weaving destiny beyond your immediate sight. Now let us practice the ritual of flowing water. Sit comfortably, closing your eyes, and imagine yourself as a river. Feel your breath becoming currents, slow and continuous. Inhale deeply, envisioning the river touching stones and roots. Exhale, and see the water flowing past every obstacle without resistance. With each breath, repeat softly, I am the river. I do not resist. I flow, and by flowing, I arrive. Remain in this visualization for 7 breaths, letting the sensation of movement wash away every tension in your body. The secret of Wu Wei is not hidden in temples, nor locked in sacred texts. It is present in the rhythm of your breath, in the way your heart beats without command, in the quiet unfolding of dawn after night. You were never asked to force the sun to rise. You were invited to witness its inevitability. So too with your destiny. You are not asked to drag it into being. You are asked to align with its current. In the sacred art of non-forcing, you will discover that what is yours cannot be denied, and what is not yours cannot be forced to stay. Chapter 5. The Wise Old Man, Archetype of Silent Power. In the dreams of seekers across centuries, a figure appears again and again. He is the wise old man, the elder whose eyes carry the weight of time and whose silence is more eloquent than words. He does not come to command nor to impose, but to remind you of what you already know yet have forgotten. Jung saw in him an archetype, the inner sage who rises when the ego grows weary of its own futile struggles. Picture a traveler lost in a labyrinth of high walls, each turn leading to yet another dead end. Exhausted, he collapses, believing he will never find the way. And it is in that moment, when effort has finally broken into surrender, that the old man appears. He does not hand the traveler a map, nor does he break the walls. Instead, he points silently to the sky. Only then does the traveler notice that the labyrinth has no roof, and that the path was always to rise above, not to battle within. The wise old man lives in you. He is the calm presence that arises when you stop arguing with reality. He is the voice that whispers in dreams, the sudden clarity that comes in stillness, the intuition that arrives not from thinking but from listening. His power is not in action, but in the refusal to be enslaved by reaction. Where the ego seeks to push, the sage waits. Where the ego fears silence, the sage makes it his temple. This archetype is the guardian of the reverse law. He knows that forcing only feeds resistance. He knows that the psyche, like the soil, cannot be commanded to bear fruit by decree. His wisdom is timeless because it mirrors the very order of the cosmos. Stars do not rush, oceans do not beg, mountains do not kneel. All stand in their silent authority, and life arranges itself around their stillness. Let us invite the wise old man into your own soul. Close your eyes and imagine walking through a forest at twilight. The air is cool, the leaves whisper secrets you cannot yet decipher. Ahead, by a fire that glows without wood or flame, sits the figure of the old man. Approach slowly and sit beside him. Do not ask questions. Do not force answers. Simply breathe with him. Feel his silence entering your chest, his calm becoming your calm. Whisper within yourself, I do not need to force, I only need to see. The wisdom I seek is already within me. Allow this presence to linger for a few moments, as if his silence were pouring into the roots of your being. The archetype of the wise old man is not an illusion of the unconscious. It is a mirror of your deepest essence. Every time you choose silence over anxiety, presence over compulsion, you embody him. And in this embodiment, you discover a power more enduring than control, the power of inner alignment. The labyrinth may remain, but now you walk it differently. You know the sky is open above you, and you no longer mistake the walls for your destiny. Chapter 6. The Test of Waiting. When the universe conceals the treasure. There are moments when life seems to conspire in silence, as if deliberately hiding from you the very answers you seek. You walk with expectation, but the doors do not open. You sow with sincerity, but the harvest does not appear. In these seasons, impatience presses upon your chest, whispering that you have been abandoned. Yet what if this silence is not abandonment, but initiation? What if the delay is not punishment, but preparation? Consider the tale of Miriam, a young woman who sought the sacred spring said to grant clarity of vision. She crossed deserts and valleys, enduring storms and nights of loneliness. When at last she reached the place the elders had described, she found only a barren rock. Furious, she struck the ground, demanding the spring to appear. Nothing happened. Exhausted, she collapsed and fell into deep sleep. In her dream, a voice spoke. The spring was always here, but it opens only for those who can wait. When Miriam awoke, she sat quietly upon the stone. Hours passed in silence, and in that stillness she heard water beneath her feet. At sunset, the rock split gently, and the spring revealed itself. This story mirrors your own journey. The treasure is not absent, it is concealed. The concealment is the test, and waiting is the key. For waiting is not emptiness, it is womb. The universe does not deny you, it gestates within you. Just as a child is hidden in the silence of the womb before entering the world, so too does destiny form in hidden chambers before it reveals itself to your eyes. Psychologically, this test awakens what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. The ego demands immediacy, for it fears the unknown. But the self, that deeper center of being, knows that delay is not denial, but shaping. In waiting, the unconscious has time to weave symbols, to align archetypes, to prepare the psyche for the treasure it will one day hold. The waiting purifies desire, strips away illusion, and makes you ready to receive what is already yours. Enter now the ritual of the concealed spring. Sit in a comfortable position and close your eyes. Place both hands over your abdomen as though cradling the womb of creation. Inhale deeply, imagining a hidden fountain flowing beneath the surface of your being. Exhale slowly, trusting that its waters are moving, even if you cannot yet see them. Whisper 3 times. I wait without fear. What is mine is already forming. I trust the hidden spring. Remain in silence afterward, allowing the patience of the universe to breathe within you. The treasure you seek is already alive in silence. The delay is not an absence. It is the universe preparing the stage, placing the pieces, tuning the instruments before the symphony begins, and when the moment arrives, you will see that nothing was lost in waiting. Everything was being woven. Chapter 7. The Silent Furnace. How Stillness Generates Destiny. Beneath the earth, unseen by eyes and unheard by ears, fire moves. It is the fire of molten rock, a silent furnace that shapes continents, births mountains, and carves valleys. You cannot hear it, yet entire landscapes bow to its hidden labor. In the same way, destiny is forged in the furnace of silence, not in the noise of a constant effort. There was once a blacksmith named Adrian who prided himself on the speed of his hammer. He believed that the louder he struck, the stronger his creations would be. But his blades chipped easily, and his tools broke before their time. One night, an elder visited his forge and said, "The secret is not in the force of your hammer, but in the patience of the fire." Adrian, skeptical, placed the iron in the flames and waited longer than ever before. As the silence stretched, he felt powerless. Yet when he finally raised the hammer, the metal bent like silk beneath his touch. From that day forward, he understood that it was the furnace, not his strength, that shaped the destiny of iron. You too live in the illusion that noise equals progress, that effort equals transformation. Yet beneath your struggles, the silent furnace of the unconscious burns steadily. Jung described this as the alchemical fire within, a process that does not respond to impatience, but to presence. Just as the alchemist tended the fire with devotion, never rushing its mystery, you are invited to tend your own inner furnace. It is not visible, but it is ceaseless. The psyche rearranges itself in silence, and when the time comes, you find yourself transformed without knowing how it happened. Stillness is not inactivity, it is gestation. The caterpillar does nothing in its cocoon, yet within that stillness its very nature is remade. The stars move in silence across infinite skies, yet their pull commands the tides of ocean. Your silence is not weakness. It is a field where unseen forces conspire, where destiny takes form. Now enter the ritual of the silent furnace. Close your eyes and imagine a fire glowing deep within your chest, not violent but steady. With each inhale, see the flames grow brighter, not consuming but purifying. With each exhale, release the noise of effort, the restless need to control. Whisper softly, "The silent fire works within me. I trust what is unseen. My destiny is forged in stillness." Repeat until the image of the furnace feels alive in your body. You do not need to shout to be heard by the universe. You do not need to strike endlessly to shape your fate. The fire has always been burning beneath your being, patient and eternal. And in its quiet glow, the path ahead is already being prepared. Chapter 8. The Cosmic Rehearsal, Apparent Delay as Divine Order. There are seasons in life when every sign seems to speak of delay. You prepare. You sow. You call upon heaven with sincerity. Yet what you desire does not arrive. The heart grows restless, and impatience whispers that you have been forgotten. But what if what you call delay is not delay at all? What if it is a rehearsal? The careful tuning of instruments before the grand symphony begins. Imagine an ancient theater. Behind the curtain, musicians gather. The audience grows impatient as minutes stretch into silence. They cannot see the hidden work, the adjusting of strings, the subtle harmonies being tested, the quiet unison forming in secret. And when at last the curtain rises, the music flows with perfection, as though eternity itself had rehearsed every note. So it is with your destiny. The curtain remains closed, not because the play is denied you, but because the stage is being prepared with precision. The cosmic rehearsal is a sacred paradox. It appears as delay, yet it is the greatest movement of order. Each obstacle, each pause, each unanswered prayer is not absence, it is placement. Life is aligning the actors, setting the scenery, weaving threads unseen. To demand immediacy is to interrupt the very masterpiece being woven for you. The reverse law whispers, release your urgency and trust that what you call waiting is creation in disguise. From the lens of depth psychology, these pauses serve a profound purpose. Jung taught that symbols rise from the unconscious when the ego yields its demand for control. The interval of waiting allows these symbols to emerge, to reorder your inner world, so that when the moment of manifestation comes, you are not merely a spectator, but a participant, aligned and whole. Without the rehearsal, the music would collapse into noise. Without the pause, your life would shatter under the weight of unprepared blessings. Let us enter the ritual of the cosmic stage. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing before a great red curtain. Behind it you hear faint movements, whispers, the tuning of instruments. Place your right hand over your heart and inhale deeply, sensing the hidden preparation. As you exhale, whisper, "The curtain is closed, but not forever. Life is preparing what I cannot yet see. I trust the divine rehearsal. Repeat this 3 times, allowing the words to soften the urgency in your chest. You are not forgotten in the silence. You are being rehearsed, prepared, refined. When the curtain lifts, you will see that every pause was part of the design, that what seemed like delay was divine choreography, and in that moment you will know nothing was late and nothing was missing. All was ordered for you. Chapter 9. The Mirror of Surrender. Ritual of Opening Hands. Every seeker eventually encounters a threshold where the will can no longer break through. It is a wall that does not respond to effort, a door that does not yield to keys of logic or persistence. At that threshold, frustration rises like fire, and despair whispers of failure. Yet this is not failure. It is invitation. It is the sacred call to surrender, to lay down the weapons of control and open the hands of trust. There is an ancient tale of a king who sought to grasp the light of the sun. He built towers, forged mirrors, commanded armies, but no matter how hard he tried, the light escaped him. In the end, weary and broken, he sat on the earth with open palms, no longer demanding. At that moment, the sun filled his hands with warmth, and he realized the truth. The light was never his to seize. It was always his to receive. The mirror of surrender is this very posture. When you open your hands, you confess to the universe, I release control. I trust that life knows the path better than I. This act does not make you powerless. It aligns you with the greatest power of all, the hidden currents that move creation itself. The reverse law shines here with its deepest paradox. In releasing, you receive. In surrendering, you reign. In opening, you are filled. From the perspective of the psyche, surrender does not mean defeat. Jung reminded us that the unconscious resists domination, but responds to respect. When you stop forcing your inner world to conform to rigid expectations, the unconscious reveals its treasures. Dreams arise, symbols awaken, forgotten parts of the self return from exile. Surrender allows integration. It is the mirror in which your true self finally dares to appear. Let us now enter the ritual of open hands. Sit quietly in a place where you can remain undisturbed. Rest your hands upon your knees, palms upward, as though holding invisible mirrors. Inhale deeply, and as you do, imagine your hands reflecting the light of a higher order. Exhale slowly, whispering, I release control. I trust the law of reversal. The universe now acts for me. Repeat this softly for 7 breaths, each repetition deepening your surrender. When the practice feels complete, close your eyes and imagine doors opening effortlessly before you, doors you had once tried in vain to force. This mirror of surrender will accompany you in every moment of struggle. When anxiety returns, when impatience whispers, you need not wrestle with it. Simply open your hands again, silently declaring your trust. The throne of your destiny is not conquered by force. It is inherited through surrender. And the more you practice this opening, the more you will see that what once resisted you now flows toward you with ease, as if guided by an unseen hand that was always waiting for you to let go. Chapter 10. The Empty Throne. Revelation of Destiny Without Struggle. There is a throne within you, a silent seat carved not of gold or stone, but of essence. Since the beginning you have felt its presence, a subtle pull in the chest, a yearning to sit upon it, to claim it as your rightful place. Yet the more you tried to seize it, the further it seemed to recede. You reached with ambition, you fought with will, you wrestled with time, only to find yourself weary and exiled from the very throne that called you. In the Chronicles of Forgotten Lands, there is a story of a young prince who searched endlessly for his inheritance. He climbed mountains, conquered cities, and battled shadows, believing that the throne must be taken by force. But when he returned to his homeland, he discovered the throne already waiting for him, untouched, unmoved, and eternally his. The elders spoke. The throne was never absent. It could never be won. It could only be received when you ceased fighting for what was already yours. The empty throne is not a symbol of loss, but of trust. It appears empty because you cannot sit upon it through struggle. It waits in stillness, inviting you to surrender the illusion of conquest. The paradox is clear. When you stop trying to enthrone yourself, destiny enthrones you. Authority is not seized, it is revealed. True power does not need to prove itself. It rests radiant because it is inseparable from who you are. From a psychological view, this throne represents the self, the archetype of wholeness described by Jung. The ego, small and restless, believes it must dominate, accumulate, and control to gain the seat of meaning. But the self was always present, quietly holding the center of the psyche. When the ego surrenders, the self shines forth, and the throne is no longer empty. It is occupied by your deepest essence. This is not possession, it is realization. Now enter the ritual of the empty throne. Close your eyes and place both hands gently over your chest, as if protecting a sacred seat within. Inhale deeply, imagining a throne of radiant light in the center of your being. Exhale slowly, whispering, "I do not need to sit on this throne. It was always mine." With each breath, feel the weight of struggle dissolving, replaced by a quiet dignity. Visualize yourself standing before the throne, bowing in reverence, and then stepping back as destiny itself places a crown of light upon your head. You are not exiled from your throne. You were never unworthy of it. It has been waiting, timeless and untouchable, for you to abandon the struggle of conquest. And the moment you release the illusion of force, the throne reveals itself not as empty, but as eternally yours. From this place of surrender, power is no longer a burden. It becomes a natural radiance flowing from your being. Chapter 11. The Paradox of Weakness. When yielding becomes power. You were taught to fear weakness, to hide it, to cover your wounds with masks of strength. In a world that glorifies conquest, fragility seems like defeat. Yet, there is a forgotten truth. What the world calls weakness, the soul often knows as the doorway to power. It is in yielding that you discover the force that does not belong to the ego, but to eternity itself. There is a legend of a warrior who was undefeated in battle, feared by all who opposed him. Yet in his old age, a strange dream began to haunt him. He saw himself standing unarmed before an army, and instead of fighting, he laid down his sword. The army passed by without touching him, as if he were invisible. When he awoke, he sought the counsel of a hermit. The hermit told him, "Strength protected you for a time, but only surrender will protect you forever. The one who resists may fall. The one who yields cannot be broken." From then on, the warrior understood that true invincibility was found not in arms, but in acceptance. This is the paradox. When you yield, you do not lose yourself. You gain alignment with forces greater than yourself. Weakness becomes the womb of transformation. Jung observed that the psyche heals when it allows what has been rejected to be embraced. The so-called weakness is often the very fragment of the soul that, when integrated, becomes your strength. To yield is to let the unconscious reveal what the conscious mind has long tried to suppress. Look at water. You can strike it, divide it, attempt to contain it, and yet it returns, reshaping itself, flowing around every obstacle. Its softness is its strength. Its yielding is its triumph. The rock resists and is broken by time. The water yields and endures eternally. You are invited to become like this water, not powerless, but aligned with the greater rhythm of life. Let us now enter the ritual of yielding. Close your eyes and imagine yourself holding a stone tightly in your hand. Feel the weight of control, the hardness of resistance. Inhale deeply, and as you exhale, slowly open your hand, letting the stone fall away. Whisper softly, "In yielding, I am not broken. In surrender, I am carried. My weakness becomes my power." Repeat this 3 times, allowing the sensation of release to fill your body with unexpected strength. Weakness is not the absence of power. It is the portal through which a higher power enters. When you cease to resist your own fragility, you discover that life itself holds you, and in that discovery, you are no longer afraid, for yielding has made you unbreakable. Chapter 12. The river that carves the stone, the force of non-resistance. In the valleys where mountains sleep, rivers move with patience. Their waters do not roar in constant fury. They flow quietly, day after day, century after century. And yet, over time, these gentle waters carve canyons, shape valleys, and polish even the hardest stones. What armies cannot accomplish in conquest, the river achieves in surrender. This is the force of non-resistance. What yields today becomes the shaper of eternity. There is a parable told among the ancients of a mountain that mocked the river at its base. "You will never move me," said the mountain, proud of its immovable strength. The river replied with silence, simply flowing. Ages passed and the mountain began to fracture, its foundations softened by the persistent caress of water. What once mocked became shaped, and the river, without a single act of violence, transformed the giant. This is the law written into the soul of the universe. Resistance consumes itself. Flow endures. The ego imagines that force is the highest power, yet it is flow that outlasts all resistance. Jung once spoke of individuation as the gradual shaping of the psyche, where the unconscious waters carve the hard stone of the ego. It is not a violent act, but a patient one. Dreams, synchronicities, and symbols wear away the rigid walls until the deeper self emerges, revealed like a canyon shaped by centuries of invisible labor. The lesson of the river is clear. You do not need to break everything at once. You're asked only to flow, to continue, to persist in surrender. Life does not demand of you endless force. It asks for constancy in trust. When you stop resisting every curve, when you allow yourself to follow the current, you will see that obstacles are not barriers, but stones being slowly reshaped into passageways. Enter now the ritual of the river. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Visualize yourself lying upon the surface of a vast stream, carried effortlessly by the current. With each inhale, feel the water supporting you. With each exhale, release the need to control direction. Whisper softly, "Like the river, I flow. Like the river, I endure. Like the river, I transform." Repeat these words for 7 breaths, allowing the sensation of being carried to dissolve every trace of resistance in your body. You are not asked to conquer every mountain in a single day. You are invited to flow as the river flows, patient and persistent. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the hardest stones of your life have been reshaped, not by force, but by your refusal to resist the flow that was always carrying you. Chapter 13. The Unseen Architects, How the Psyche Reorders Itself in Silence. When all seems still, when nothing appears to move, you may believe that your inner world is stagnant. Yet in the unseen chambers of your being, architects are at work. They are not commanded by your conscious demands, nor hurried by your impatience. They work in silence, in the hidden depths of the psyche, where symbols rise and archetypes rearrange themselves like constellations shifting in the night sky. There was once a traveler who sought the wisdom of a hidden monastery. He arrived at its gates and begged for teaching. The monks received him, but offered no words, only silence. Days passed, and the traveler grew restless, certain that nothing was being given. Yet in dreams, strange visions began to visit him, a phoenix rising, a serpent shedding its skin, a temple opening its doors. One morning, he awoke with tears in his eyes, for he understood. The silence had been the teaching all along, allowing the unseen architects of his soul to awaken. Your psyche works in the same way. Jung called it the self, that deeper organizing principle which knows what the ego cannot see. When you surrender the need to interfere constantly, this self begins to reorder your life from within. Old patterns soften, forgotten memories rise, hidden potentials awaken. The unconscious is not chaos, it is a builder, but it works on a scale of time and subtlety that defies the rushing will of the ego. Think of a forest. You walk among its trees and believe nothing is happening. Yet, beneath the soil, roots are weaving unseen connections, seeds are germinating, and life is reshaping itself in silence. The forest does not announce its growth with trumpets, But one day you return and find it transformed. So it is with your own being. Transformation unfolds quietly, and when you finally notice, it feels as though it has always been so. Let us practice the ritual of the unseen builders. Sit in silence, without music, without distraction. Place one hand gently over your forehead and the other over your heart. Inhale deeply, and as you exhale, whisper, "I allow the unseen architects of my soul to build in silence." Repeat this slowly 3 times. Then release even the words. Allow yourself to rest in stillness, trusting that invisible hands are working within. You are not alone in your transformation. Forces older than your mind, wiser than your plans, are already building the temple of your destiny. Trust the silence, for it is not emptiness. It is construction. It is the secret labor of unseen architects who prepare the life you are meant to live. Chapter 14. The supreme law the universe obeys when you stop forcing. There is a rhythm older than time, a law that governs galaxies, rivers, and the beating of your own heart. It is not written in books of law, nor dictated by human hands, yet it shapes all things. The ancients knew it, mystics whispered of it, sages lived by it. When you stop forcing, the universe begins to move for you. Imagine a man lost at sea, thrashing desperately against the waves. His strength fades, his breath weakens, and fear declares his end. Yet the moment he stops fighting, he discovers the ocean lifting him. The waves that once seemed enemies become allies, carrying him toward the shore. His survival did not come from effort, but from surrender to a greater current. This is the supreme law. Life resists when you resist, but when you release the need to dominate, existence rearranges itself in your favor. The universe does not respond to frantic demands, it responds to alignment. The more you force, the more you delay. The more you open, the faster doors unseal. The paradox is luminous. Your non-action, when born of trust, becomes the most potent action of all. Psychologically, this law awakens the deepest layers of the psyche. Jung wrote that the unconscious obeys the images we hold with emotion, not the commands we scream with tension. When you relax into trust, your unconscious aligns with symbols of abundance, of wholeness, of peace. These images ripple outward, weaving reality according to the vibration you embody. Force fractures. Trust unifies, and what unifies draws all things into its orbit. Now enter the ritual of supreme alignment. Sit quietly and close your eyes. Imagine above your head a vast sky filled with constellations, each star representing a possibility in your life. Inhale deeply, and with each breath, feel yourself becoming weightless, as though lifted into that cosmic rhythm. Exhale slowly, whispering, "I no longer force, I align. The universe acts through me." Repeat these words 3 times and then rest in silence, trusting that unseen currents are already carrying you. You do not command the universe with struggle, you invite it with surrender. The throne you once tried to seize is already beneath you, the doors you tried to break are already unlocked, and the path you feared was hidden is already clearing itself. The supreme law is simple, eternal, and unbreakable. When you cease to force, the universe cannot resist obeying. Chapter 15. Closing. The decree of the eternal throne. You have walked through deserts of effort, carried burdens of control, and wrestled with nets that only grew tighter. You have seen the bird freed by stillness, the river carving stone, the furnace shaping iron in silence. You have encountered the wise old man, the unseen architects, and the paradox of weakness that becomes strength. And now, standing at the threshold of this sacred journey, a final revelation rises within you. You were never lost, never powerless, never abandoned. The throne of your destiny was always yours, awaiting the moment you ceased to fight for it. There is a decree older than language, whispered in the chambers of eternity. What is truly yours cannot be taken, and what is not yours cannot remain. You have spent years forcing, fearing, demanding, yet now you understand. The universe was never deaf to you. It was waiting for you to listen to yourself. It was waiting for you to stop bending, so that it could bend toward you. Close your eyes and envision the throne once more, glowing in the center of your chest. It is not made of stone or gold, but of light. It has no beginning and no end. Approach it not with conquest, but with reverence. Whisper silently, I do not need to fight for this throne. It is eternally mine. See yourself bowing, not in defeat, but in surrender. And as you step back, feel destiny itself seating you upon it, not by force, but by recognition. Repeat now within the quiet of your heart, I trust the reverse law. I release control. I receive the destiny that has always been mine. Let these words echo like mantras, seeding themselves in the deepest soil of your soul. With each repetition, feel lighter, freer, more whole. This is not an ending, but a continuation. The silence you carry forward will keep speaking. The surrender you have practiced will keep opening doors. The throne you have discovered will never leave you, for it was never absent. If this message touched your soul, if you felt the truth vibrating in these words, seal it now with a decree of your own. Whisper softly, I am finding myself again.